Hi, today I'd like to show you how an expert system could bring something new and different in the world of astrology. What is an expert system? In artificial intelligence, an expert system is a computer system that emulates the decision-making ability of a human expert. An expert system could help us interpret charts by treating astrological information in a completely new way. To develop an expert system, we first created the interpretations for 5,148 combined factors. That is, interpretations of all the planets both in signs and in aspects. To generate these interpretations, we thoroughly analyzed and collected separately all the interpretations for planets in signs and for planets in aspects found in 25 famous and respected classical authors: American, French, British, German, Canadian. A real work of monk to gather all these keywords and organize them into lists for each combined factors by intersecting the semantic fields of each planet in sign with each planet in aspect. Here's an example. In Dalai Lama's chart, we find a sextile between Moon Virgo and Jupiter. Here we can isolate any planet or aspect. For instance, here I keep this sextile Moon Jupiter. To find mixed interpretation of this combination, the expert system looks for personality traits representing exhaustively all what is found in common between Moon Virgo and Moon sextile Jupiter, either by identity or by analogy between their respective semantic fields. In your opinion, what would be the interpretation of this combined factor? Moon Virgo sextile Jupiter. Here is the answer of the system: maternal instinct, generosity, goodness, kindness, dedication, service, thoughtfulness, care, protection, caring, simplicity, and so on. In the expert system, the totality of Ebertin's 858 midpoints interpretations was also included in the form of keywords, also taking into account the contribution of others. The keywords used by the expert system in the interpretations are also the building blocks for our synthesis algorithm. How the expert system generates the astrological keywords describing a subject. It does it by treating astrological information in a completely new way. To generate the synthesis of a chart in the form of a two-level tree of keywords, the expert system computes and classifies hundreds of keywords associated with an astrological chart. The analysis compiles all these keywords and sorts the primary ones using a probabilistic algorithm. A primary keyword gets a high score if it's much repeated in a chart. The repeated presence principle is rather simple. It's like saying 8 reds in a row in the roulette game is a lot more improbable than a mix, say, of 4 reds and 4 blacks. Thus, it is more meaningful. In addition to this principle of repetition, it's also necessary to take into account the frequencies in the whole dictionary of keywords, because these frequencies affect the probability of occurrence of any word in a specific chart. For instance, if you have the word ambition repeated 5 times in a chart, it's not as meaningful as having the word compassion repeated 5 times. Compassion is more improbable on a random scale because it's much less frequent than ambition in any astrological corpus, reflecting what is found in real life as well. In summary, the higher the score of a primary keyword, the more its repeated presence in a chart is unlikely and therefore significant. As for the secondary keywords, they are grouped under the primary keywords according to an analogy criterion. We have here, as an example of synthesis, the Dalai Lama 14 with his highest scoring keywords presented in the form of a two-level tree. On the first level, in bold, the primary keywords that express the main meaning. And on the second level, the secondary keywords which, thanks to an embedded thesaurus, contextualize the primary keywords by being connected with them by analogy. Let's look at a few signatures. If you click on a keyword in the tree, say compassion, that keyword and its astrological signature will be displayed. The signature of a keyword is a set of astrological factors that include that keyword in their interpretations. If you click on the signature of the keyword, here, compassion, the window Factors and Associated Keywords pops up, displaying all the factors of the signature with all their keywords, including the given one highlighted in red. Let's see another example. Mysticism. Repeated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. This is Bill Clinton chart. Sometimes we like to analyze a pattern like a T-square, a grand trine. The expert system is good to do that. For instance, if we want to analyze Clinton's Mercury Leo, double sextile to Mars and Venus Libra, we can go here and keep only Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Then we do all the aspects and a full analysis of those three planets connected by sextiles. And this is what we find: refinement, charm, pleasure, enthusiasm, seduction, etc. If we just add Pluto in the pattern, we're going to have more to analyze. This adds a note of persuasion, sex appeal, so it looks like what we had, but now with new subtleties because of Pluto. We can do also interpretation queries from factors to keywords or from keywords to factors. Let's take the first one. From memory, someone I know very well. He's got Mercury Scorpio, sextile, thus harmonic, to Saturn. So, logic, judgment, analysis, etc. We can add those interpretations to the interpretation panel at the left. And we can put some more. So, from memory, I remember this Mercury Scorpio man also has a semi-square Mercury to Moon. Agitation, fear, doubt, curiosity. I add it to the panel. I remember also that he has a sesqui-square from Mercury to Uranus, impatience, tension, opposition, discussion, contradiction, research. I add it. And finally, he has a square from Mercury Scorpio to Pluto. Investigation, criticism, etc. I add it to the panel. And now, without having the chart, we can analyze those four factors. Can you guess what word is going to come out first? Criticism, which is connected to the four aspects, including the sign. Then, search, insight, concern, ingenuity, curiosity, impatience, and originality. Before turning to the forecast curves, one last comment on what we've just seen. It seems to me that this expert system is a wonderful learning tool for practicing scales and becoming an astrological virtuoso. The forecast curve allows us to locate at a glance the most important moments in a time interval chosen by the user. Those moments are identified by observing the highest peaks. To create all these curves, the numerical scores of about 60 different keywords are calculated for several consecutive transit charts and represented as a graph in time. Each point of a curve summarizes the complete analysis of a transit chart in a specific theme expressed by a keyword. The detection of significant moments is done by observing the highest peaks of a curve. Céline Dion. I thought of examining with you a very serious ordeal for Céline, who lost her husband and manager, René Angélil, and her brother Daniel 2 days apart. The deaths occurred on January the 14th of 2016 and 2 days later. The question we can ask ourselves is, if we had looked at Céline Dion charts a few years ago, could we have made a prognosis of those deaths? Mastro Expert has a technique to do this, a natural technique that is based on the transits. When I say transits, I mean the transits of aspects and the transits of midpoint also. Look here, I had the transits every day from 2014 to 2016. In the upper part of the screen, we have a sort of agenda. In the case of Céline Dion, the first word we would be inclined to look at is morning. So I click on morning and the graph will appear. Only the highest peaks interest us, especially here, the highest one. Let's see. It is situated on the 20th of January 2016. Therefore, over 2.5 years, it falls at only 4 days of the death of his brother and 6 days after the death of René Angélil. Now look, if I click on the peak here, it will take us exactly to the 20th of January 2016, and we can see that there is the word morning, which is dominant with a very, very high score, 7.7, and the word death. If I open here, we can see the signature of the word morning. We're not surprised to find the transit Pluto square Saturn. It is accompanied by 5 midpoints that act as co-significators and triggers, and that were not easily visible to the naked eye. To optimize the efficiency of the curves, testing on several hundred cases led us to include the midpoints in this approach and to choose optimal average orbs of 1.32 degrees for aspects and 0.35 for midpoints. Eberton himself and the cosmobiologists may not have fully grasped the importance of the midpoint transits because they didn't have the computer tools to fully realize that. It's important to understand the necessity of locating a transit in its temporal context over a long period of time and not to be satisfied with punctual readings. Not only are the forecast curves a useful predictive tool for the consultant who wants to have a year-long overview for his client, but they are also a wonderful research tool, since every day where nothing happens form a sort of control group. There are simple rules for assessing the importance of a peak. Experimentation on hundreds of cases showed that the events tend to occur between 4 days before a peak in application and 3 days after in separation. Another simple empirical rule is to consider that if a peak is not in the top 5 in a year, it doesn't mean much, since 5 times 3 plus 4 days out of 365 days represent about a 10% probability of a forecast success by pure chance. I will demonstrate a solar return followed by a relocation of this solar return. We assume by moving to the right place at the time of the return that the year will be good according to the astrological aspects that gives us this new location. I will first open the transit chart for now. I'm going to drag the Sun to the natal Sun position to get this year's solar return. Done. All the aspects now followed by a quick analysis. As you can see, success has a value of 2.0, the second position. Can we get better keywords and or better scores by moving? I will start by changing the longitude to bring Jupiter in trine with the MC. To do this, I will open the relocation panel. Since Jupiter is at 20 degrees of Scorpio, I will increase the longitude value to get the MC at 20 degrees of Pisces. Next, I'm going to increase the latitude to get the ascendant trine Jupiter. To see this position on a map, I click the Open Browser icon. This opens the browsers on Google Map. To better situate myself, I move away. Oh, I'm near Vancouver. With the Google Chrome browser, you can drag the address to the Mastro icon in the taskbar and then to the workspace. This will reposition the angles for the chosen coordinates. If we look at the keywords in the synthesis panel, we find a better portrait: ambition, 8.5, achievement, chance, joy, success. Final considerations. Considering probabilistic rarity as a criterion of significance is a very simple and fruitful new principle that works well. However, false verdicts could happen and possibly be due to the expert system. But it could also possibly be attributed to wrong data or to the limitations of astrology itself. Maybe the habit of working after the fact gives to many astrologers the impression that astrology works much better than it actually does. Some astrologers are much disturbed by the claim that a part of the interpretation work could be done by a machine. On the contrary, I think that they don't realize that despite its limitations, this robot highlights the profound wisdom and the extraordinary beauty of astrology by clearly showing that it is distinct from clairvoyance. Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed it and that it may be useful and inspiring for you.